We're talking a little bit about that tonight and what just basically came through on the CRE, which is the National Regulatory Commission that looks after what happens in the CFE and what is moved forward, what new regulations they put into play to make our lives a little bit more difficult. So I'll just quickly go over our team. So as you know, I'm Erich Briehl. I'm from Bulldog Solar. I've been doing solar here in Mérida for about since 2015. So I was going to say 15 years, but it feels much longer than that. But I was working for another solar company before going into Bulldog, and since being in Bulldog, we've managed to be on many roofs here in Centro with the foreign community, and it's been a great ride forward with all of you supporting us in our projects that we've been doing, and we've been trying to do what we all believed in, which is providing an excellent service and quality customer service for our clients. So, part of that team that's been doing that is my principal engineer, Jorge Canche, who's been with me since the beginning of the company. Carlos Carmona, who's been with us since, I believe, 2018. Carlos? Yeah, okay. Now, Carlos, you'll be probably seeing a lot more of them if you contract solar through us, or if you need any kind of CFE documentation to be taken care of, such as permits, changeovers. Carlos is our go-to person, our tramitador, our jack of all trades, and he also comes out to do service and technical calls. So if you ever call upon us and we need to come to your house to take a visit, Carlos will be the man that you'll be seeing. And last but not least is Dolores, the newest member of our team. Dolores has been quite essential with us since June of this year, getting our air conditioning business up and going, and we've seen a lot of success with that. And I'll be touching briefly on that with Dolores at the conclusion of our topic here, and before we get into more questions. So let's get going with the CRE. So just recently, the CRE released its recommendations of what is going to be changing with solar in Mexico. The biggest change is going to be happening at the end with the commercial distributors, people that are putting on massive installations, people that are doing a 25 kilowatt or more installation up into the 500 kilowatt. So the biggest changes are happening in that bracket, and that doesn't mean that they're ignoring us residential people. Up in the top end bracket, they're limiting what people are going to be receiving, so it's going to make an investment from the solar farm standpoint of view a lot longer on the return side. So people are not going to be seeing the value of it. It is going to bring the system a little bit more in line with what we're seeing in the United States and Canada and other places in the world. If you ask me directly, is this something that I'm surprised about? Not really. And I can't really be surprised about it because we've been hearing back and forth that CFE is doing this, CRE is doing that, and it's been a ping pong for years now. And finally, we're at a point that the government has just decided that this is the way that we're going. Now, this is Mexico at the end of the day. I mean, we've all seen laws that have been put into play and reversed. So there's a very good chance as well that that could happen. You never know. I will say that for the time being, what we do know going forward are these stipulations with the commercial side. Now, with the residential side, that's probably basically why most of you have come here tonight to find out. So with the residential side, if you are a current solar client, you have solar on your roof, and you've had solar on your roof, breathe a sigh of relief, nothing's going to change with your contract. Contracts in Mexico that have been signed into law are respected. So if you have a solar contract that was signed in back in 2015 or 2020, or even at the beginning of this year, before any of the laws have changed, your contracts will be respected. They won't be changed, they won't be modified. It's basically a grandfather clause. Just like if you have a cell phone, you keep on the same contract and don't renew it, it just rolls over until you decide to get a new contract. So that's going to be the way with solar. Now, for the people who are signing up for solar, Carlos let us know that there's been a lot of changes with that particular aspect. One of the biggest changes that has been proposed by the CRE, that Carlos also has confirmed, that they're looking at a 10 kilowatt restriction. So what does that mean? You cannot install more than 10 kilowatts of solar panels on your house. In reference to how many panels does that mean? That means if you have a 500 watt panel, 20 of those panels is the maximum amount you can put on your roof and export it out to the CFE. That's the law that they're trying to push forward. As soon as that is put into the books, that will be the law of the land until it changes. With respect to that specific note, that was the way it was approximately 4 years ago, 5 years ago. That law was changed initially because some of my first clients, they did as well have that limit of 10 kilowatts. Then the laws were changed that upped that permit for residential clients to have 30 kilowatts on the roof, meaning 60 panels on your roof, if we're using the same 500 watt panel reference. So what does it look like to me? It looks like the CFE is just going backwards with the CRE. It's not moving forward. It's not doing anything super harmful. It's just putting in some restrictions that are going to make things a little uncomfortable for some people that need more power. In relation to a CFE though, 20 panels at 500 watts on your roof, that is, on a good time, 2,600 kilowatts every 2 months or every 60 days. That is a lot. I mean, I know a lot of people who have come to me for solar panels have required more, but in the general scheme of things, when you're looking at a normal household with 2 air conditioners and 2 or 3 people living inside, that generally would be more than enough to sustain their needs, even if they're a little bit heavier on their energy use. So I don't think that it's going to be, for many people, a very detrimental restriction that's going on for solar, but I do think for people that are looking at the larger picture of having more panels on to generate more power when they want to have a big air conditioning party, when they really want to just turn up the air conditioners to maximum load and not worry about what it's going to cost them. The CFE is also with respect to this restriction, and we don't know for certain yet if it's going to affect for the residential clients as much as it affects the commercial clients, is that we install a lot of panels on people's houses that overproduce so that they have extra for the next month or for the next billing period. What the CFE is doing for the commercial side is that anybody that produces extra energy that generally would have gone into what is an energy bank, that energy now is going to be used as a payout at the end of that billing cycle. So the CFE will have a flat rate. Right now it's been tossed around at 80 cents instead of the normal CFE bills. Like we all know, CFE chart is 0.9 cents per kilowatt, and it goes up to 2.1, and then up to 3 or 4, depending on which zone that you live in and depending on your billing strategy. What CFE is doing is not honoring people's reimbursement of the energy at those rates. They're giving them a much lower rate, much lower market rate. So you're not getting a reimbursement back on the commercial side. Whether that's going to be the same for the residential side, when they're talking about people having energy bank for the next bills, we're not too clear on that. That's something that we'll basically clear on down the road. But as it is right now, everybody should be prepared for basically whatever the CFE is going to have a window fancy for. It's never quite clear at the end of the day. We always find out as these things roll along. But as it is seen, and as we've seen them with the process, they're generally going to do the same restrictions for that payout on the residential side if they're moving forward with not honoring that energy bank. Because that was one of the big stipulations that was in that document that came out with the CFE and the CRE, that they wanted to restrict how much people are getting paid out. Again, is this a surprise? Not really. We saw it happen in Canada with the feed-in tariff. We saw it happen in the United States and many parts of the US that decided to change around their schemes because the power companies felt that they weren't getting a fair shake and that they were losing more money, rather than seeing that the altruistic thing is putting panels on, doing something good for the environment and helping the community as a whole, and having a renewable energy product that is both sustainable for those heavy peak hours when you're under the hot sun. I mean, what's going to help reduce those costs? Good panels on the roof. So, aside from those CRE issues that are quite straightforward and also quite, left up for interpretation as it moves forward, as the law goes into effect, what else has changed with the CFE? Well, with solar, when you're getting solar installed, the CFE has some new requirements. Before, there was nothing more than making sure your meter base was fine and that you had the correct connection that was required for you to hook up to solar. What they're requiring now is a lot of infrastructure upgrades. So everybody knows the type of meter base you generally see on the houses here, a little ashtray, a little disc that's planked onto the wall. Okay, so those meter bases are no longer a legal meter base for solar. Why is that? those meter bases have such a low amperage rating. And it is actually a good thing that they're doing this, because this is going to avoid a lot of fires that happen with people that have larger systems that are going through a much more compact meter base. So what they're requiring for everybody to do now is to upgrade to the 100 meter base, which is the square metal base that you'll see. It's not the large one that you see for three-phase, it's a little bit smaller. But in the end, this meter base is a safety issue, and it actually, this is a good thing. I'm not going to say it's something that you should be thinking, oh, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg, why do I have to do this? It's for your own protection, and it's for the longevity of the electricity in your house. You don't want to deal with an electrical fire. It's not a lot of fun. It's not good to have a meter base that is going to basically cook your meter at every time that you have a lot of amperage demand. When you turn on those air conditioners in your house, those wires, they do heat up because there's power that's flowing through, and power does heat up, and eventually if you have a meter base that is too tight and doesn't allow for airflow for those lines to cool, you're going to have burnout, a melt, or a fire. So I totally agree with this decision from the CFE to make sure that people's external equipment is at grade, and it's absolutely necessary to have it this way so that no one's going to get hurt and no one's going to have any system damage or expensive repairs down the road. Another thing the CFE has put forward, and this is the one that Carlos and I keep on scratching our heads over, is the augmentation of charge. So augmentation of charge, what does that mean? Augmentation of charge refers to the energy that your house has contracted from the CFE and how much is being delivered to your house. So it's basically the delivery level. Most houses in Mérida have either 3 kilowatt or 5 kilowatt delivery level. Some of the bigger houses, you'll already know they have a 5 kilowatt delivery level from the size of their meter base. That was generally standard when you got a higher delivery at your house. So how does that relate to solar? How does that relate to your hookup? Well, the CFE wants to make sure that your delivery charge to the house, whether it's 3 kilowatts or 5 kilowatts, will fall into line with what you've solicited from solar. So what that means is that if you have a 5 kilowatt system that has been installed on your house, so a 5 kilowatt inverter, 5 kilowatts of panels, set up as it should be, the CFE is going to look and say, okay, your delivery is 3 kilowatts, okay, we need to bring you up to regulation with what you have installed on your house. What does that mean? CFE is going to charge you a one-time fee to upgrade your service so that you're now in line with what you should be to have a fluid and stable service with your solar and also with any power that you're requesting in your house. Not only does the upgrade of your delivery help you for your solar, but it also helps you for the rest of your equipment in your house. If you ever notice that there's a little bit of dip in your energy when you're turning on extra services, well, it's probably to do with two things. Either bad connection due to wiring issues, or the fact that you have a lower delivery. There's not a lot of power that's being drawn to your house. The lines may be inferior for the amount that's being pulled. So that would also indicate that you would need to have an augmentation of charge, possibly at that point. So that's something that could also be a benefit overall, but in the sense of for your solar, it's a necessity that you need to make sure that the amount of power that's coming into your house is in line with what you have installed on your roof. So once the CFE assesses that charge, and currently that charge is 3,038 pesos, including taxes per kilowatt. So if you need to up your service from 3 kilowatts to 5 kilowatts, you're going to pay 6,076 pesos. Math is correct. But at the end of the day, that's going to be the only time you're going to pay that fee. The CFE will then pass you on to your documentation service, and then your meter will be on, and you'll be in line and be able to use your solar. So this is probably the biggest thing that's hit a lot of people by surprise. When the CFE started doing these changes, especially requesting that you bring your service into line, a lot of people are like, what's going on? Why am I having to do it? A couple clients were very shocked at the amount that CFE has asked them to bring it up. A lot of times when houses are built here, the consideration of how much is your delivery of charge is never really taken into consideration on the meter side. A lot of times the house is built, it already has electricity service on there, maybe upgrade the lines on the street quickly, no big deal. But at the end of the day, you're doing kind of a disservice to your electricity at the house in the end, because if you don't have the amount of delivery correct for what's coming into your house, for what you need, you'll have a lot of issues internally with electricity. And it's better to make sure that everything is in line with what your needs are in the house, rather than leaving it as it is and making sure that, oh, just I did a little line change and everything's fine. Make sure that your electricity is in line, whether you go with solar or not. It will end up saving you a lot of issues with nightmares with power fluctuations coming to your house too. Okay, so yes, please.
Is that for systems that are already installed as well, or what we're speaking
No.
to?
Okay, so
All new systems.
So for all new systems that get installed, those following things I just discussed about having the augmentation of charge, the meter base, and making sure that everything is in line with each other, those are for new systems. I do recommend that if you do have an old system and you have any doubts about the way it was installed, give us a call, we'll give you a free consult. I mean, we're happy to come take a look. If you think that there's something with your meter base that requires a second set of eyes, a second opinion, a free look is not gonna cost us anything. And I'm happy to check something, especially if there's a concern over safety. That's something I have no problem taking care of. I do say that to also clients that have an older system, it's always a good rule of thumb that if you haven't had a check at least once a year, get someone in to check it out. I mean, the professionals, they know what they're looking for, especially when it comes to energy issues. When you have something that may not appear to the layman's eye that needs attention, if you get a professional to come in and take a look at your system, they may identify something. Hey, do you know that this needs to be attended to, because if this goes on any longer like this, it's going to cause that problem. There's a lot of changes with equipment over the years, especially how it functions. You may see that it looks quite normal from the outside, but have a professional or a technician come in, hooks up the system, is able to read through all the information, the data that your inverters are providing. He's able, or he or she is able to make a assessment over what needs to be attended to, or if your system is in good condition or not, and whether there's any follow-up action that needs to be taken.
Eric, I have a question. Maybe someone else did too.
Sure.
What happens if I have solar on my house now, but I want to add to it? So is that going to cause me an augmentation of charge? If let's say I have 10 and now I want to add another 10 or another 5 or whatever, is that going to generate an augmentation of charge?
Yes. So for those of you that have solar on your house right now, the correct way forward to go when you want to add more panels on is to do proper solicitation of the CFE. The other thing I need to mention to that, I appreciate you bringing that one up, is that how many of you have heard of the transformers that are full in Mérida? Anybody? No? Okay, so about a year ago, this was during the pandemic, the CFE was starting to deny a lot of people for their installs of solar panels, especially in the commercial market. People were finding that transformers were being the blame. What were the CFE saying about the transformers? That the transformers were full. What does that mean? Okay, so a full transformer means that you can't put any more solar onto it. Concal, various in Centro, various spots in Centro. A lot of places up in Temazón Norte. Santa Ana has quite a few spots now that are starting to appear. Otros lugares también. But aside from those specific locations that we've just run across, quite positive there's quite a few more spots that we don't know. Which one is Zima también? Okay, so some spots in Zima as well too. There's a lot more spots in the city that have potential to be full transformers. And what does that mean with a full transformer? What do you do? Well, there's two options. Option number one is nothing. You do a zero export system and basically do not feed into the CFE. Option number two is you ask the CFE, what can I do to get myself hooked up to the system? The CFE will probably present you the option of purchasing a new transformer for the block, or if you want to purchase a transformer for yourself, you can do that. What you do is purchase a transformer that is small to the size of what your system would be, and you basically do it as a donation to the CFE. And when I say donation, it doesn't mean that you're paying the CFE anything. You buy the transformer, you say, CFE, I'm going to donate this transformer to you so that I can hook up solar on my system. They're not going to pay you any money for it. They're not going to give you any kind of manila envelope under the table or anything like that. They're going to take it. They're going to sign for it legally on the document. That transformer will be installed either on your roof or on your house, depending on the arrangement that you have with the CFE. And that transformer will be allowed for you to hook up to, and you will have already bought what you're going to be using on that transformer. So if you buy it for your just for your size of system, it'll be just your size of system of transformer and put towards your house. Hang on a second. Cindy, yes.
Have you estimated what a personal transformer would cost?
I can give you a good estimate. You'll be looking somewhere in the 200,000 peso range and up. That's a fair assessment for where it could be. A pedestal transformer, those are the ones that basically sit on the ground and they're up a little bit. Those particular transformers, they're anywhere in the 250,000 and up from that point. The smaller ones that you see up on the posts, they vary in cost depending on the kilovolt amps that you have in there. Again, that would be something we would have to assess with an engineer or engineers on staff to see which would be proper for your particular installation if you want to go in that direction. However, a lot of people see that as a big expense, big cost of money, and that brings us over to the other option. Well, what is the option if you don't want to go with either one of those two? Because there's always a third option, right? The third option is batteries. So a lot of people are seeing now there's a benefit to going with batteries. Batteries are starting to become a lot more affordable. We've actually had this past year and the year prior some of our first battery installations, and this year I was surprised at how much more interest there has been in the battery market. The cost that I remember seeing when I first came into the industry here for batteries, we're looking at a 10 kilowatt battery being somewhere around $15,000 US. And now I see that same 10 kilowatt battery is costing in the $6,000 to $7,000 range. So I mean, it's dropping. It's dropping big time the cost of batteries. I'm not saying that it's going to be free. I mean, there are lower cost and lower quality batteries that are on the market. There's ones that you can pick up on Amazon and pick up Mercado Libre, Pilon Tech, some of the Grow Watt ones as well. A lot of the Trojan batteries as well are very good, LTH. I would say that where is this leading to? Well, if you're looking at buying a transformer, why not look at buying a battery bank? Because you're going to spend 200,000 pesos on a transformer, why not spend 200,000 pesos on a battery? And then who cares if the CFE goes off? Who cares if you're only feeding in during the daytime? That 200,000 pesos that you spend on that battery bank, why don't you just have your system programmed to feed in at night, so you're supporting your nighttime energy? So basically you're doing what's called peak shaving in a sense. If your nighttime usage is your peak because you have panels supporting your energy during the daytime, at night you can have that battery offset your nighttime usage of air conditioners, water pumps, or whatever you got turned on at nighttime. So again, it becomes a new way to, not hack the system, but a new way to, at least make the best of a bad situation. Because I can see you got a question back there, sitting on the end of your seat. Yeah.
Later, I was interested in the batteries. Because I have
Okay, all right, no worries. Okay, so where does somebody start with a battery? Well, it depends on what you want to back up. And I think with that, with each person, each household has different requirements. There's some people with CPAP machines, some people that have irrigation systems, or they have constant outages that they want to make sure that certain electronic equipment does not go off. There are batteries that are also to the level that can support air conditioning. I would say that if you're looking at that type of coverage, that type of support with your system, you'll be looking somewhere in the 250,000 to 300,000 range, because you're going to have to start adding on more storage for your battery. There's some new battery products that are out on the market. There is a battery that's out of Hawaii called Blue Planet we're looking into. I know that it has been brought in by another company down here, but it was on a one-off basis. cost-wise of these particular batteries, which are very similar to the Generac home generator systems. You're looking in the $12,000 to $19,000 US range. You're seeing batteries from 8, 16, upwards to 24 kilowatt size. They're pretty much like a large block of computer towers when you look at it in the end. But the quality and the length of time you're looking at now with batteries, before car batteries or the deep cell marine batteries, 3 to 5 years, maybe 7 years you can push it. Blue Planet is offering their batteries now, as an example, at a 20-year guarantee. These are lithium-ion batteries. I mean, we're coming a long way with what batteries were able to last before. I mean, from a couple of years to now, 2 decades. I mean, I'd say that's progress. So, we're just put some notes here, and okay, so we talked about the meters. Okay, so Carlos had some new stuff to share about CFE with regards to meters and processing of documents. So I just wanted to touch briefly on that before I move on to talk about show and tell over here. Quiero hablar en español y voy a traducir. Okay, so Carlos is going to just give a quick talk in Spanish. I'll do the translation. So basically, Carlos, si puedes explicar sobre la documentación de la comisión, el tiempo que estamos por entrega por los documentos normalmente, pero lo que hay por el momento por los vendedores. So Carlos is going to give a quick explanation on the normal time for documentation and what's currently happened at the CFE with regards to documentation and the receivable time for meters.
Okay, pues los documentos hacen aproximadamente 15 días hábiles si no tienen ningún problema en comisión. ¿Qué quiere decir? Que no esté excluyendo el paso, que tengan la base 500, que tengan la base medidor establecida actualmente, ya que la mayoría de todas las casas antiguas, que pues la mayoría que viven en el centro, pues tienen la base de medidor circular.
So basically what Carlos just said is that normally the CFE documentation takes 21 business days to process. This 21 business day process can go very smoothly, provided that you have all the things in place, the meter base, the documentation correct, and all the photos and all the fees and permits played.
Ya después de que se realiza la resolución de comisión que cheque que todo su medidor esté bien y todo esté en orden, entonces checan lo que es el aumento de cargas. La mayoría de todas las casas son de 3 kilos a 5 kilos.
So basically, as the process moves on, they will do the inspection on your house after you submitted all your documents. The inspection will be to take a look visually from the CFE's standpoint. They're doing that to all the houses now to see if your base actually complies on the inside and not just from photos that were sent in, and also to see what your kilowatt charge is at the site. Yes.
Is your RFC number required for this?
Your RFC number can be included in this whole process if you have not already signed with your initial contractation of the CFE contract. For your,
The RFC number.
we can have that added into your contract after the fact, yes.
So it's not necessary.
It's not necessary to begin it. Ellos no necesitan para hacer el trámite. No, it's not needed to begin it, but it is advised that if you haven't already done it, you have to do that trámite with the CFE to make sure that it's added on. Because any of you that are purchasing houses here for sale or to flip, or even to do a CFE permit, it has to be in your name, number one. That's the most important thing. As soon as you buy a house here, if you haven't already had this done when you buy a house, get your name changed onto the CFE bill right away. It is something that a lot of people forget. Back in the day, they say, "Oh, just leave it, no worries. You know, it's 15 people ago." That doesn't do any favors these days. Now with the law changes, especially the taxes, it's a very, very smart thing to do to get it changed.
Ya después de hacer el aumento de cargas, que chequen cuántos paneles tienen y todo el consumo, se lleva a lo que es planeación, que es zona Mérida, donde lleva, realiza el pago ustedes en el banco, que es en Banorte. Eso igual tienen que saberlo porque en Banorte siempre tiene que hacer el pago. Ya que se hace el pago, se lleva 3 días para que se haga el depósito. Nos dan una hoja del aumento de cargas.
Okay, so basically, as Carlos continued on saying that as soon as they finish doing their review, the CFE will send everybody who is due to receive an augmentation of charge. They'll send you a receipt through email, through the same way that you received your solicitation of doing your solar tramitings. There will be a slip on there that you can take to Banorte, and it takes 3 days for it to process through Banorte. And most important, do not forget your receipts. When you do pay for your augmentation of charge, keep both the receipts. Make sure you have the white one, that's the top copy. They're going to ask for that at the CFE. A copia blanco es lo que. We've had a couple people that had to go back to the bank and basically request it to be printed off again. But if you have the yellow receipt, ask them for the white one. Okay. And once that is put into the CFE, so the last thing was that it takes 3 days for the CFE to come back out and get the meter changed. Pero ¿qué pasa si tiene un problema con el transformador, también con la aumento de carga que no están disponibles? No puede pasar eso, ¿no?
Cuando el transformador llegó a su límite, no se puede hacer el aumento de cargas. Entonces lo que usted tiene contratado es los paneles solares que se pueden poner. Si tiene 3 kilos o 5 kilos.
And so basically the CFE, when they finish doing the review, if you don't have the ability to do augmento de carga, they'll tell you what you have available on your transformer to put for your panels. So if you already have 5 kilowatts contracted on your service, then you're entitled to 5 kilowatts of solar power to support your service, but nothing more than that. That's kind of like the gimme in a way. They're allowing you to put solar on, but only at a limit, because if your transformer is full, well, you're already on that spot, so this is where you can put your panels to. So you can put on a 4 kilowatt system if you have 5 kilowatts contracted. On a 3 kilowatt system, you can put on 2.5, 2.75. In these cases, it's always a good rule of thumb to make sure that you have your solar installer check to see what's space on the transformer. If there's any doubt, like what we've had to do a few times, we've had to go into the CFE and actually say, hey, what's on this transformer, what space do we have? The one thing that we cannot find out from our clients that we've tried to do is almost there an aumento de carga que tienen los clientes. Yeah, so basically Carlos is saying the other big problem that we have for a lot of clients that we can't provide a solution to is knowing how much is your current charge on your house, like whether you have 3 kilowatts or 5 kilowatts or 7 or 10. The CFE does not tell us that. It's not on your receipts either. What would have to happen is there would have to be a direct solicitation with the CFE, but that's a solicitation that, unless we have a reason for the solicitation, because we're putting in a solar contract, or a solar contract has already been put in, they're not going to be so willing to give us an idea of what's on there. If they have something that's on record that is not corroborated with what is the actual state of your meter, so like you have a presumed 5 kilowatt draw, but you only have 3 kilowatts contracted by the CFE. The CFE finds that that is a discrepancy there. They'll throw forward a charge for you to pay to bring your stuff into line. So, yes, right.
Yeah, Eric, so we recently upgraded our system on our house. And I understand and I totally agree with the larger meter base size. But what we have seen is CFE is doing nothing with their overhead lines because the corrosion is so bad on the lines. So we take the connectors on there and they can't support the current output anyhow.
That's correct.
Do you see any changes to the overhead lines?
Infrastructure here is a big problem. I mean, not just in the city, but also at the beach too. I mean, we've seen people throw reports in, and I'll give a good example. Kai 51, basically where Soko is. Everybody knows Soko, the bread bakery? Okay, so Kai 51, 58, all the way over to 54. That stretch, you talk to anybody that lives on that street, people that live there, people that have Airbnbs, nothing but electric problems. I have I have 3 clients on there that have Airbnbs. One of them actually lives there full time. There is I'll say a lack of CFE wanting to do anything with the infrastructure there. 2 people have had 2 burnouts that we basically got to the point of saying, okay, let's just put puentes in. That's the only way that anybody can have any kind of power in their house. The bottom of the the bottom line here is that CFE is more interested in dealing with what makes sense to look after, like bigger problems, like bigger energy issues. They're not too concerned about dealing with smaller residential issues right away. If the transformer in your neighborhood goes up on fire, yeah, obviously they'll come and take care of it. But when it comes down to looking after clamps on the line, what the linesmen are given is what they're given. And it's hard to say when they'll upgrade their equipment or when they'll upgrade their supplies to be in line with something that's usable and something that is going to do the job that we need to have done, is provide a proper connection between their service and the services in the house. Yes?
So my power is fluctuating between 118 and 135 within 10 seconds constantly in the house.
Yeah.
So is that probably related to the bad wiring outside?
Yeah, very much it's related to the bad wiring.
It's not because of my panels and my meter.
If there's something behind your meter, I would say that it would be a good bet that there would be an issue that's caused by it, but without seeing it directly, I wouldn't be able to give you a proper assessment. I can say it's likely that it's a problem that's being exacerbated by the CFE. If you have a meter that's never been taken off since it was installed,
It's been taken off several times.
okay, well, if it's been taken off several times, then it's probably a situation that there's either something wrong with the meter or something either on the front end or the back end that needs to be looked at. Again, I can't offer a diagnosis here,
But, I mean, you probably heard of that a lot.
Yeah, we had a client de San Crisanto. El señor se han hablado sobre el salto de la voltaje de 110 a 130. So we have a client out in San Crisanto that we're just dealing with that had that problem. It was based on some wiring that was on the inside that was done by another electrician. We'd installed our solar and it was all done to the front at the main breaker, but the problem that the client was having was internally on the house between the neutral lines. So a good thing is if there's any kind of electrical problem, you're seeing something like that, it's always good to have a good engineer and a good electrician come in, review everything on your system, just go line for line. A lot of panels here, if you haven't noticed, they look like spaghetti dinners.
Yeah.
It's
Yes, I've had 3 fires in the middle.
yeah, I mean, yeah, the other thing Carlos just mentioned right there, maintenance of your breaker panels. If you haven't had anybody look at your breaker panels since you put on or sort of moved into your house or had solar put on or had some upgrades done to your system, such as putting on more air conditioners, adding on an arc welder or whatever. Good rule of thumb, have your panel checked to make sure that you're not going to have a fire, you're not going to have any downtime with your power.
Can you recommend a whole house surge protector?
Uh,
There's a lot on the market, but
okay,
the Simon's 140, I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
gold standard.
that would be the gold standard in my books. It's the best one that anybody can buy. It costs $400, but it's worth every penny.
Okay.
If you don't have a surge protector on your house, I strongly recommend getting one, especially if you're experiencing problems. Amazon, great place to look.
Yeah.
Siemens is the brand that I would recommend. Leviton also has one there. It's not as good, but I would suggest if you have that rather than nothing, it's a more cost-effective solution. But the Siemens one would be the one I would say. It's First Surge.
Yes, First Surge. Siemens FS1.
There you go. Okay, so does anybody have any CFE questions before we move on to talk very quickly about solar? Anybody else? No? Okay. All right. So, gracias, Carlos. Awesome. All right. So, a couple things here. How many people have seen solar equipment before? Okay. So, does anybody know what this is? This is a microinverter. This is where your power comes from when you have solar. This is one of the options that we provide. It's a APS system. It's a microinverter that you hook 2 panels into. You have your panel input points at the bottom here, your Wi-Fi antenna that sends a signal to your monitoring device. This is a solution that's several years old, this one, as a return model. The microinverter market is probably one of the biggest growing markets here, especially for people that don't know how much they need and they're trying to build something small step by step. Microinverters offer a good solution for clients that want to start off with only a couple panels and then plug and play. With microinverters, they come in all shapes and sizes. Here's another brand, this is Enphase. Enphase again has a microinverter, but this one only does for single panels. A lot of my clients have this brand microinverter. It's a very high quality brand. It's been on the market for as long as I've been selling, and from the reviews that everybody gives them online, it is probably the best seller in the world for micros. Microinverters, another benefit, if you all remember Christmas lights from back in the 70s and 80s, where you had the screw-in bulbs, normal ones. You take one bulb out and the rest of the lights still work, they don't go out, unlike the LED ones. Well, that's what microinverters are. Microinverters go into what's called a trunk cable. This is the trunk cable here. On the end, we put a double pole breaker, which is a breaker that you use for your air conditioners. And basically that's the on and off. It hooks right into your main power line, just like your air conditioner does. And each of these can be daisy chained onto. This is at the end of a run, and usually a run has another cable coming out here that goes over to connect to the next microinverter. Now with microinverters, they need a brain, and this is their brain. This is an example of a monitoring device. It's an older one, more rudimentary, with the LCD screen, but all the information will go in here. It goes to the internet, sends information to your phone, allows you to know how much you're producing. In some cases, it allows you to know how much you have used in your house, depending if you have metering on there. In the case that you don't go with a microinverter, we have these beasts over here. So these are your traditional central inverters. So they don't look too different. I mean, they're just massive. Each of these has a different size component. The larger one here is, I think it's 5 kilowatt, and this one here is a this one is a 2 kilowatt. So both these are different grades of quality, obviously. That's with the microinverters that you can buy your high-end ones or your low-end paperweights. These ones are no longer produced. This would be your lower-end central inverter. This would be one of the previous higher-end central inverters. Kako was a very good brand back in the day. A lot of people, the library here has Kako. Some of the inverters, when they were looked after, they work very, very well. Kako, though, is the name of my existence right now because they don't have any kind of support anymore from Mexico. So unfortunately, we don't sell Kako. I don't think anybody sells Kako. And if you do find somebody trying to sell you Kako, walk away very fast. It is, like I said, a workhorse inverter. These inverters are very straightforward to hook up. You put your panels on the roof, hook them all together like your normal Christmas tree lights, but the LED ones. Because guess what happens when you disconnect one of those? You disconnect the panel from the LED chain, and just like the light, the whole string goes out. So it's one of the disadvantages for the central inverters. However, for expanding them as well, you also have another issue that occurs over a period of time. You have a situation that if you have a system that has been installed 2 years ago and you want to put a new panel on there, is your panel still made? Probably not, because panels go out of production over time. What we've seen here in the panel market, another thing that's quite important as respect to sizing, when you're deciding about what type of system you're going to go with, whether it's a microinverter or central inverter, you also have to think about, are you going to expand your system any bigger when you decide to put more on your house? How's that going to affect your system? Do you need to think about a certain type of system so that you can do that expansion? That's where you think about your decision between central inverters and microinverters. For people that want to just install a system one time and just get it all done, and have the situation on their roof that they can put a central inverter on safely, I would recommend going with one of those because you get it up, get it done. A lot of people believe in central inverter for one point of failure. That's true. It is a very good point. People that are expanding, I think that microinverters offer a great option as well, because you don't need to think about buying more larger equipment. You don't have to think about getting to your limit on your inverter. You can buy piece by piece by piece. And as well, with most microinverter systems, it is a plug and play aspect that you just add on to the chain and you keep on expanding as you go along. And you get to a limit, obviously, either by the limit of the CFE or the limit of what your roof space is, or the limit of the devices that can be hooked into one monitoring device. But in the end, this is decisions that with qualified assessors and also with engineers that know how energy works and how they can assess properly what you're going to be needing down the road and what will benefit your consumption and production best. That's where we would sit down and decide with you guys what would work best for your solution. Where's the last thing we're going to go to here? Batteries, we talked about that. Okay, so let's quickly talk about backup stuff. So we touched on batteries before, and I just want to go back on this. People probably have a question about how many batteries should I get if I'm going to do a battery system? What do you need? What sizing? Well, if you're looking at something that is going to be comparable for a decent backup, I would say look between 10 and 15 kilowatts. I'd say 10 kilowatts is a good size for a house, especially if you're wanting to have a little bit more comfort. 5 kilowatts is fine if you're looking at the short outages and you're just wanting to have like your fridge and fan and some plugs and lights working. I say that you just need some small backup. Yeah, that's available. That's a great option to go with. If you're looking for something a little bit more substantial because you do have a lot more outages and you do need to have some stability with your energy, then I would look at something a lot larger, to the 10 and 15 area. When you're looking at batteries as well, the good thing that this market does provide is a lot of options, and having expansion options is one of the big options that makes a battery a win or a loss. Batteries with GrowWatt, batteries with Huawei, batteries with systems like Tech, they all allow you to basically plug and play and basically mount more batteries over top of each other. Varying batteries have varying qualities, and obviously in the end you make the decision on which battery suits your need for what type of application you're putting it towards. Actually, yeah, here's another one I'll just touch on briefly. In respect to what other things can you do aside from solar to save energy in your house? Well, let's talk about briefly your most expensive cost in your house, which is air conditioning. So, how many people have air conditioning here? Everybody? All right. How would you like to have an air conditioner that doesn't use as much power as your current ones? Everybody wants one of those? No? Well, okay, so how would you like to have your air conditioner on 24 hours a day? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Huh? So, there's air conditioners that are on the market now that would be able to provide that. Not available here in Mexico. That's something we're actually looking into. If you're in a rural environment and you want to have things cooled down, I think it would be a good idea to look at new technology that's coming out on the market. There's air conditioners that are now entering into the hybrid zone. And also, I mean, most people have friends that do RVs. Anybody that has a recreational vehicle, Winnebago or all? Okay, so if you know much about RVs and camping and going on the road, your air conditioners in those vehicles are usually a 12-volt air conditioner. Something that runs on the battery service of your car, or maybe 24-volt. Well, there's a few companies in the world that are starting to produce air conditioners that work on a hybrid format. It's half AC, half DC. So the DC side is your compressor that's on the roof, the part that uses the most power. So what they're doing right now is during the daytime, these new air conditioners are going to be able to be running on solar panels and providing all that power from the sun directly into the DC motor on the roof. And the AC power, which is coming from your house, is going to be providing it to the evaporator that is pushing the drum and pushing the cold air in your house. The savings on those air conditioners from the stats I've been reading is quite substantial. If you're looking at cost-wise, you're not seeing anything that is going to be anything more than an LG air conditioner. $700 to $800 is the starting bracket for those type of hybrid air conditioners from what numbers and prices are being quoted. There's also the even better version of an air conditioner, which is your DC air conditioner, your 48-volt air conditioner, the one that basically works on batteries and panels. So, and that's the one where I'm saying that you could have it basically work 24 hours and never stop. A DC air conditioner will work on two things: your solar panels in the daytime and a bank of batteries at nighttime. And you only need 48-volt battery system to make it run. That's something that is going to be a big game changer for people that are in areas that don't have CFE, because to be able to cool things down, like have a cold room, especially if it's for health purposes, and you need to rely on that, and you don't have a reliable energy source, and you don't want to put on a normal air conditioner that's just going to run amok on a solar system and also push battery power to its limits, because you need to have something that's going to be energy efficient and it's not going to break the bank. And I think with this change in technology for air conditioners that will be making its way here, I'm pretty much sure that we'll be seeing this technology break into this market and making a big change, especially when it comes to cost of our users, because 70%, that's a big chunk of our bills. And you know, when you look at comfort, that we put panels on our roof to try to bring our costs down, but we still have that cost of air conditioning costs being 70%, taking up a big chunk out of our wallets. If we can cut that percentage down by introducing new technology like AC/DC air conditioner or a full-on DC air conditioner is completely separate from the CFE, we'll see that we're all saving a lot more money and also doing the better part for the environment.
Are you doing anything for solar hot water?
Solar hot water.
Every time you fill your gas tank, it's like, oh my God.
I just filled my.
$11 a liter now. It used to be
I just filled the gas tank on the house 2.5 weeks ago, and that was 3,300 pesos. 3,300 pesos for gas.
11 cents a liter.
That's brutal.
So, I mean, would that not be something to look at?
It would be. The technology, I don't think, is at a point right now that I could recommend a specific solar hot water heater company. I know we have a lot of solar hot water heaters that are out there that work directly with those tube formats. Some have the glass panel that has your copper tubes on the inside. But a lot of people are seeing that the hot water on demand, especially the small electric units that you're going to put underneath a bathroom, underneath the sink, close to wherever you're using, is becoming a more viable solution than a big central tank. You're, number one, not running as many pipes around your house. You basically run cold water to all your spots, and then if you need hot water in that zone, you basically run a pipe off of that cold water service into your hot water boiler that's underneath your sink, and then you have your two tubes coming out. Normally you'd run all your hot water tubes into the kitchen, into the bathroom, into the powder room. In this case, you'd probably be saving a heck of a lot of money in copper piping or PVC piping.
That's why I do construction.
There you go. And I mean, you can't leave with the old construction and upgrade that way and just cap off your old hot water lines. But then you're just leaving lines in the wall there for nothing to happen right away. But I do think that if you are doing new construction, that would be a great way to consider not pumping water, waiting 2-3 minutes in the shower. It's still cold, and the water's coming through all the pipes. We've all been there in the houses. It's not exactly something that is avoidable here. But like I said, in the end, air conditioning, the new panels, the new systems that are available for people, there's a lot more options that are coming out on the market than there were before. And it is sad to see that the CFE in the end is not going in the correct direction of seeing that we need to find more environmentally friendly ways of producing energy, supplying the grid, and moving forward either with good infrastructure or upgraded infrastructure to support this new technology that's coming forward. But we as consumers, in the end, we can do our part, installing solar on our roofs, making small changes here and there, adjusting the way that we live, so that we can take part and do our part to make sure that this planet stays a little bit greener a little bit longer. I am pretty much near the end here. I do want to have Dolores quickly talk a little bit about the air conditioning service that we've just started offering. So,
Okay, great, thanks. So as Eric said, I'm the newest addition to Bulldog Solar, and our main goal here was to make sure that solar and air conditioning obviously go hand in hand. So my job was to work on the air conditioning side, so, for installations, but my main goal is to, I'm the one who, you've probably heard from me, I'm the one who schedules your air conditioning cleaning, I'm the one that schedules any services that you need, and I'm also the one that schedules any of your solar panel cleaning. So we just decided that that was a business that we wanted to come into. So we've done really well with that. Your air conditioners, they really do need to be serviced and cleaned at least every 6 months, maybe sooner, depending on if you have pets, perhaps someone in your house is a smoker. You cook a lot, like me. I cook a lot, so I have an air conditioner above my kitchen, and that one seems to need to be cleaned more often. So, the longevity here for an air conditioner is not that long because we do use it, 365 days of the year, 12 months a year. So somewhere else where you're not using your air conditioner in the wintertime, it gets a break. Here, it doesn't get a break so much. So you need to keep your air conditioners clean. It's actually going to help the longevity of your air conditioner. So if you haven't had them cleaned, please do so. You can reach out to myself or Eric to get those things done. We have a new program that we've done. It's a maintenance program. So if you have a busy lifestyle and you just go, okay, I know I'm going to get my air conditioner cleaned every 6 months. I set you up on that schedule. So, if whether it's June and December or May, July and February, whatever, I can set that up for you. That way you don't have to worry about calling, you don't have to worry about it. It's already set up that way. So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to Eric and I can get you set up on that program. It's very simple. The other thing I do is the panel cleaning. So people think, well, I have solar on my house, so what I do is I actually schedule the panel cleaning as well, and that is just as vital as getting your air conditioner cleaned. It's usually once a year. Sometimes it can be twice a year, depending on where you live. If you live out at the beach, you're going to get maybe some of that salt. You ever get that salt air on your windshield, and that salt just doesn't come off very well. So you really, at a minimum, need your panels cleaned at least once a year. Bird droppings, just when here in the city you have grime. Just like when you think you have a clean car until you wipe it and you go, oh, wasn't that clean after all? So same thing with your panels, and we come in, but not only is it a cleaning, the guys here actually go on and check all of your systems. So they're up there, they have special solutions that they clean it with, and then they're actually doing a check to make sure that all of these guys are plugged in properly and making sure that all of our panels are working. And since I'm back office, I actually have, I can go and look at the computers and I can say, oh, I see this panel isn't maybe working properly or something, or if you think one of your panels aren't working, give us a call, we can check that out too. So I'm the one who you hear from on the emails, and you get all the marketing things from me, and that way you get to put a name to a face. So anyway, that's all I have, and if Eric, questions and answers for Eric.
So how can I tell that one of my panels isn't working?
Okay. Perfect. Let's go with that one. Thanks, Mark. Well, it depends on what type of system you have. But if you have a central inverter, we can have a login to your local area connection and basically look directly into your inverter. Most inverters have the ability to do that. There are some inverters that don't provide for that.
So the Crackle could do that?
The CACO, yes, we could probably get into that one by doing a local area connection if it was still in an operational fashion. If you don't have an account that was set up for it, it might be a little bit harder, but there's always a way to find if there's a system that's working. The other way to do it is the old-fashioned way, one panel at a time. You go one by one, do the short circuit check. ¿Qué es el más rápido forma para hacer una revisión de líneas de central?
Módulo por módulo.
Module for module. Yeah. The only time you can really do that safely enough is during the daytime, because you want to have a good amount of power on each panel so that you can see how much it's making, because it doesn't do any good to check it at nighttime or late in the afternoon or early in the morning. As at different times of the day, if you don't have enough power that's supplying your panel, you're not going to have a proper reading to know whether it is at its high potential of power or whether it's not. But yeah, with a system like a microinverter system, that's a heck of a lot easier. With microinverters, each one of the mini inverters allows you to see panel per panel on what is going on. There are some central inverter aftermarket devices that have allowed somewhat of a similar format, such as, was it Tigo or Tigo? Yeah, or Tigo or Tigo, depending on how you pronounce it. Those were optimizers that go underneath panels. It's not as popular anymore because basically if you get to the point that you need to put an optimizer on your panel, why don't you just buy microinverters to begin with? Because the amount that you invest in the optimizer after the fact basically brings you up to the cost of having a central inverter upgraded to a microinverter. So I mean, you maybe saving a few bucks on having the central inverter, but if you wanted the microinverter benefits, just go with a microinverter because it's all in one package. And with the Tigo, you're basically dealing with the Kako's system and then dealing with Tigo's system. Granted, you know, some people like the various platforms, and again, it's to each their own decision which one you go with. Yeah, right?
Yeah, Eric, going back to the batteries, can the batteries be placed outside, or?
There are some batteries that can be placed outside depending on the type of protection that it has. So you need a battery that's going to go into a field format if you're out in the bush, and that would be something that you'd have to basically talk to us about, saying, okay, we want to have 2 batteries over here, make sure that it's going to comply with the battery's requirements. If it can't have direct rain on it, or if it can't be put into a situation that it's got too much humidity. I don't know if you recomendaciones por baterías. Mejor que están para adentro, ¿no?
Ventilación.
Yeah. Big thing for batteries as well is if you're considering putting them on your system, ventilation is a big deal as well. Some batteries require good ventilation to keep them cool. Other batteries have their own ventilation abilities on either built-in fans or built-in radiators that dissipate any heat that is produced by them. The technology, again, changes per battery, changes per application, and each person that chooses a battery will have a different set of parameters to follow for a particular system. No worries. Yes?
You mentioned Washington cost for
I'm sorry.
Sorry, you mentioned price per kilowatt on batteries earlier, and I didn't write it down.
Okay, so basically for batteries right now, I'll give you a very open and very straightforward idea. You're looking at a large pre-made battery cell at, for example, Blue Planet, anywhere in the neighborhood of $12,000 US for that starting price of the battery. You look at an N-phase 10 kilowatt battery, you're looking at around $8,000 US. You look at a Huawei battery, a 5 kilowatt battery, you're looking at a price range of approximately around $3,000 US. Again, this is not including all the equipment that you need to hook up with it. Every battery has a different requirement, every setup has a different requirement. So the idea of prices, like I said, prices are changing, prices are going up and down all the time. But when's the best time to invest? Whenever you're ready. So, any other questions?
Well, I guess my question is kind of slightly vague, but what is the benefit of going solar when the government doesn't support it? It costs a lot to install it, and then your CFE bill goes down a little.
Okay, so I think that's a very good question. Cost-wise, like if you look at a good quality solar system, you could basically say that a 8 to 10 panel system is going to cost you anywhere between $5,000 and $8,000 US. It's a good range to market at. Now, obviously, with the different equipment, that price can vary. But when you do make a choice to go with solar, I mean, again, if you go in a time where the government is supporting solar, in the sense that they are allowing you to hook up, you are going in, you'll have that protection when you do make that investment into it. If the government decides to, flip-flop on this decision, you'll have that grandfathered in stipulation. So your contract that you've made with solar will still be a contract till the end of time.
But how would you know, if you start going down the path towards solar, you put it in, you get it all up and ready, and then you discover that whatever it is in the street,
The transformer.
the transformer doesn't work,
What we've done,
and then you're like, oh my God.
yeah, what we've done in this sense to avoid that situation is that when someone approaches us for solar, we have that discussion with them and say, okay, listen, before we make a decision to put on,
Yeah.
let's check your transformer first and find out if you have the space in your neighborhood.
Right.
Because if you don't have the space in your neighborhood, we're wasting your
You
time.
never do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you wouldn't do
There-
it if you
There's a
can't
couple
use it.
a couple bravadas that we've had to just say no to clients because the transformer situation there is exactly the same. So.
You're not gonna bank it anyway, because the government doesn't allow you to bank it.
Currently, they do allow you to bank from month to month, but this is something that's probably going to be changing for residentials down the road. But if you already have the contract in and it's already say that you're getting that credit in your energy bank,
Right.
if that's already been established in your contract, that won't change in the long run. It's only for new contracts that will change for it. If you already have a solar contract and you're already getting an energy and an energy bank, that's not going to change. If you have a new contract and the CFE is applying the new rules that they passed down through the CRE, then you will be under the new rules. But until they've had that put into the Diario de la Federación, it's basically everything is still as it is until it is made official into law.
Can you be grandfathered if you purchase a house that has solar already?
Ooh, wow, that's okay,
Because
Carlos.
that's pretty common, you see it in like sales,
Yeah,
that's the big thing these days, is it includes solar, but
Carlos, okay. La señora preguntaba la pregunta si los costos de solar cambian por la CFE. ¿Qué pasó cuando se vende la casa? ¿Los convenios quedan como los convenios eran?
No, cuando pasa, cuando los clientes se van, lo que se hace es otras, como una actualización de datos.
Okay, so basically, as Carlos was saying, the changeover, what happens when you sell your house, if you want to keep the solar conventions and also do a name change on there,
Se hace una firma de documentos.
then you have to do a new signing documentation, one that basically dictates that yes, you're accepting a house with solar that already has solar that's in there. Se van a cambiar las estipulaciones.
Sí, son unas hojas exclusivas que te da CFE cuando es otro dueño, porque lleva un fideicomiso, o sea, como un cambio de nombre.
Pero se cambian los,
Se cambia el nombre.
pero aparte la nombre, las estipulaciones que tenía la antigua, no se quedan las estipulaciones como derecho para ingresar más de 10 kilos, derecho para...
No se queda igual, solo se va a hacer un cambio.
Okay, so basically, Carlos confirmed that the only thing that will change is the name on the contract.
okay.
So if there's already solar contracts that are already changed, you've sold the house to a new person, they basically are the, I guess what we call a rider is added on, or an amendment, or an annex is put into the file, that you took possession of the house at this time and you're the new person on. And the previous information that fell for the system still stays the same. Okay.
Where are the panels produced that you are currently installing?
Okay, like most of the panels, they're produced over in Asia. We have Chinese, we have stuff that are coming from Korea, we have stuff coming from Thailand. We also have some European panels that are on the market that are being sold based by independent brokers. I prefer to make my purchases at the time that I make my sales. I don't believe in keeping panels in a bodega because what happens after 6 months, what I've been seeing year after year after year, every 6 months we see panels changing. Every 6 months we see inverters changing. Stock goes up, stock goes down. When a panel is discontinued, what do you do when you have 2 left? You can't exactly sell it off to a system. You have to take a loss on it, or you have to take a smaller system to sell it off to.
Have they stopped producing in Mexico?
No, there's still panels that are being produced here in Mexico. We actually have one that's in town, Solar Sol. They're up in Estamos no Norte, no? basically on the way to Las Americas. They have a factory there. They get all their cells from China, but all their product is made here in town. Aluminum is purchased from here, I believe, and the silver, I believe, is also locally sourced as well. But as goes for the solar cells themselves, they are yes. That's just the way the world is these days. I mean, there's certain parts that are made in certain areas of the world, and you know, I'm not going to say that it's a good thing or a bad thing, but you know, there's like I said, things in Canada that are only made in Canada, things in the U.S. that are only made in the U.S., things are made in China, only made in China. And I guess in the grander scheme of things, we're taking a benefit from that as well because of the tax laws that have allowed importations from China, especially in the technology and electronics market, such as solar panels. Because there was a, what was it, 45 or 50% reduction in the tariffs on panels. And I remember seeing the market just explode at that point when Peña dropped those taxes on the panels coming in for importation. There was everybody and their uncle selling solar at that time. And obviously the people that are dedicated to the business offer a good product, stick around, and they know how to run the business correctly. I will say that cost-wise, the panels has been stable in the range that it is right now. I don't think that we're going to be seeing any massive jumps in costs. I do see that with components like a cable, which has copper in it, parts for special equipment that may not be as readily available as it used to be, just for the situation at the global economy. So I do think that if anybody does move forward with solar, patience is a very good trait to have at hand because things can change very quickly with the global economy, especially when parts are being brought in from overseas. And we try to accommodate as best as possible, like we did during COVID, keep our clients abreast of what's happening. Keep anybody that's interested in knowing what is a new change that we need to be aware about, aware, so that we can all be wiser and smarter, and also make sure that we keep an eye on our wallets and not just dumping money out where it's not needing to go to. Okay. Any other questions, anybody? No? I appreciate your questions, Spencer.
How many different companies are there in Mérida selling solar?
I cannot be sure.
Someone told me 25. Is that much?
There's got to be more than that. I know that. I know for my own purposes, I was with Bulldog Solar when we had our. We were the 10th largest producer, the 10th largest purchaser from one of our suppliers here in town, and we got a special invite, whatever. I know that we're still up there in the range. I don't know where our standings are ranking for the state, but I know that there's a lot of competition out there right now, and we have a certain part of the market that we've tapped into that we appreciate the support a lot from. And the one thing we can offer to this market is a bit of peace of mind at the end of the day. I come from Canada, and I have employees that have gone overseas that know what it's like to work in an international environment. I think that's very important at the end when you do choose your solar installer or your solar provider, or even an electrician that's going to work in your house. To know that someone that's going to take it seriously and actually provide you with a clean service, a correct service, and make sure that they're not finished with you until the job is done right and that your house is safe. Okay? And that's the best cash I can give for you.
Let's stop it there. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you very much for those of you who stayed. Appreciate it. And if you have any other questions.